This is the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. It has 22 more characters in its name than the BMW M3 and 9 more syllables than the Audi S4. It also costs $80,000. That's right, this car costs $80,000, even though it's made by a company that has only sold 2 models in the United States in the last 25 years. 1, a low-volume sports car that nobody remembers, and 2, a low-volume sports car that you can't drive if you're carrying anything larger than a beach towel. Alfa Romeo has no track record in the United States, virtually no record of reliability, and a spotty dealer network. And they want you to pay $80,000 for this thing? Yes, they do, and it's worth every penny. Today, I've borrowed this Giulia Quadrifoglio from a viewer near Washington, D.C., and I'm going to show you exactly why it costs $80,000. First, as usual, I'm going to show you all of the Giulia's weird Italian car quirks. Then I'm going to show you its cool performance features. And then I'm going to take it out on the road and go for a drive. And to find out more of my thoughts, click the link below to read my column on autotrader.com/oversteer. Okay, so quirks. You open the door to this car and you find something that truly amazes me. It's an Italian performance car that isn't very quirky. Let me show you what I mean. The window switches are normal, and so is the mirror control. Surely there must be a weird Italian car quirk in here somewhere, but the door locks are normal, and so is the door handle. And so is the headlight switch. The parking brake is normal, and it's right in the middle, just like every other car. The Giulia has normal climate controls like you'd find in any other car, normal climate control vents, and normal steering wheel controls. Push the big red starter button mounted on the steering wheel to turn on the Giulia, and you'll find that the infotainment system is normal too, and surprisingly simple to operate. You want navigation? There it is. Why isn't this harder? This is an Italian car. Why isn't this stupid and counterintuitive? Also not counterintuitive, the sun visors, they're normal. The dome lights, they're normal too. The glove box, it's normal. Now the stereo volume controls are a little strange in that they're located down here on the center console next to the transmission lever, but it's incredibly easy to figure them out. Turn it this way for more volume, this way for less volume, on, off, next track, previous track. Where is the Italian car insanity? Speaking of Italian car insanity, stuff isn't exactly falling off on the inside either. In fact, look at this interior. It's pretty nice. There's stitched leather everywhere, even in the rear door panels. Alcantara covers the front seats and the rear seats. The steering wheel is lined with more Alcantara and more stitching and carbon fiber trim. The shift paddles feel great, and they stay in place when you turn the wheel, just like they should. The owner's manual comes in this nice stitched leather book. Turn it into race mode and the Giulia on the screen turns yellow. And speaking of the infotainment system, how's this for attention to detail? The screen is an unusual shape, so there's no ugly gaps surrounding it like in every other car. This car seems well built. Of course, there are a few unusual quirks like you'd expect. The trunk release is a tiny button, inexplicably placed where you can't see it by the pedals. I have no idea why. Speaking of the trunk itself has 2 buttons. One opens it, the other locks the whole car. Neither is labeled, you just have to know. The other weird quirk in this car is the turn signals. Now, you push the turn signal down, turns on the turn signal, just like a normal car, except now it's returned to the neutral position. Now, BMWs also do this. To turn the signal off, you should just push it back down, except in this car, that doesn't actually turn the signal off. It just keeps going. So you push it the other way, except now the other turn signal's on. Try to cancel it, that won't work. So you push it the other way and the other turn signal's on and the other turn signal's on, and there's no real way apparently to turn off the turn signal. So I guess I'll just drive around all day with the signals on. Now, the other interesting thing about the Giulia is the placement of the B-pillar. In most cars, it's much further back. It's basically behind where you'd sit when you're driving the car, but not in this one. In the Giulia, the B-pillar is right here, which means that when you look to the side, you see pillar. Now, personally, I don't think that makes it any harder to get in and out of this car. I think it's about as easy as a normal car. I just think that's a strange design quirk of the Giulia. But by and large, this car isn't some Italian hodgepodge of stupidity or strangeness or quirks you have to accept just like every other Italian car. In fact, this car is well made and well designed and surprisingly intuitive. It's kind of German. Okay, so you expect the Giulia to be weird and quirky and have all these strange Italian touches that you have to compromise on, but it's actually pretty well thought out. But most cars in this segment are pretty well thought out. That's not why it's worth $80,000. For more on that, here's a comprehensive tour of some of the things that make it especially unique. The Giulia is a rear-wheel drive sedan that's almost exactly the same size as a BMW 3 Series and slightly smaller than a Mercedes C-Class. The Quadrifoglio is the high-performance model, and it uses a 505 horsepower twin-turbo V6. It also adds a lot of really cool performance stuff, like an adjustable exhaust note, a carbon fiber front splitter, a carbon fiber rear spoiler, a rear diffuser with quad exhausts, unique wheels with big Brembo brakes, a drive mode selector with launch control, and a carbon fiber hood and roof to save weight. But back to that exhaust note. Let's take a listen. It gets better. The Giulia Quadrifoglio's 505 horsepower means it has 60 more horsepower than a base level BMW M3 and 40 more horsepower than a base level Mercedes C63 AMG. It'll do 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds. It'll do 190 miles an hour. It is the fastest sedan with a trunk around the Nürburgring. In other words, it looks great on paper. It clearly looks great in person, but that still doesn't answer the ultimate question. How does it drive? All right, we're looking good. All right, let's do this. We're gonna drive the Giulia. You can just tell instantly how direct the steering is. My God, it's direct. You just move it a little bit and the car just goes exactly there. Oh, wow. It also doesn't feel like you're giving up anything compared to a V8, which is very important because you're already sort of taking a leap of faith buying the Giulia, which instead of like the BMW M3, which everybody knows, you know, it's gotta be as good in every other aspect. The shifts are pretty quick. They're about as quick as you're gonna get without a dual clutch. Yeah, the downshifts are so nice. It feels good and it sounds good. That noise is that it thinks I'm going over a lane line?
Yep.
It like gives you the bumping sound that you would get if you were actually going over a lane line. Oh man, that was a little wheel spin there between first and second at like 40. Oh, the steering is so good. It's so direct and precise. It's incredible how direct it is considering that we're driving four-door sedan. Yeah, in race mode, the suspension's gonna kind of kick you around a little bit. That's something you're signing up for when you're doing that. Man, it's so fast, and it's so fast from a speed you're already going. If you put your foot down at 40, it feels just wildly fast. So this is like 50. It's crazy. It just feels, it's so eager to go. It's like really, really quick, especially because it just looks like a little car on the outside and it looks like, oh, it's a pretty car. And you don't really think it's gonna be brutal. And then it turns out to be really, really fast. I love the fact that despite the fact that it's a V6, you don't feel like you're giving up anything. I really don't feel like I'm losing anything because I chose a V6 insteed of the V8 that all the rivals have. And also, that's the other thing. Somehow it managed to sound just as good as you'd want it to. I love the steering. The steering is so precise. There's no vagueness at all. It doesn't feel too light, which is the biggest complaint I have with most of the BMW steering. It feels just perfectly weighted. It's exactly how I would design the steering in a car like this if I were creating a car like this. This car is just as fast and as exciting and as fun, both in terms of acceleration and handling, as any of the two-door cars that I drive, which is no easy feat. All right, so now we're back in a normal mode here, natural mode as they call it, which is the middle of the three, and it feels pretty normal. This is a normal car. You have the ability to have a crazy, high-performance, ridiculous mobile when you want to, but also if you just want to commute and like chill and hang out and listen to music, you can do that too. The car is not large. It's one of the things I love most about it. One of the things I'm starting to not like as much about BMWs is they're just growing and growing. This car is quite small, and it's just so dirty. Can I do one of these? Oh. All right, so now we're in race here. best race experience with shifter and manual, it says. All right, if you say so. Man, it really fires off the shifts a lot quicker in race mode. It's amazing how much this car changes when you go from mode to mode. The handling changes, the ride changes, the shifting changes, the acceleration changes, and the sound changes. Very few cars make that many alterations, just from a couple flicks of a switch. I can't believe how much really changes. When I'm in race mode, it really feels like we're in a completely different car. In the end, I'm really impressed with this car. I'm really impressed with what it can do. I'm really impressed with how well-rounded it feels. It can feel like a luxury car when you want it to feel like a luxury car, and it can really feel like a sports car when you want it to. I'm most impressed, though, with the fact that, this is Alfa. I expected it to be, 3/4 as good as an M3, but you bought it because it was beautiful and you wanted something different. It isn't like that. This car is every bit as good as an M3, and you buy it because maybe it's better. Maybe you feel like you like it more. It looks better. That's a legitimate thing to do. And I don't often feel that way. And I wasn't really expecting to feel that way. So that's the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. It's absolutely beautiful to look at. It's surprisingly well laid out and well built on the inside. It's full of awesome high-performance features. It has more power and better performance than its rivals, and yes, it is worth every bit of $80,000. If you're shopping for a high-performance luxury sedan, this thing should absolutely be on your shopping list, along with maybe an extended warranty. Today, I'm gonna do something that I've forgotten. Oh yeah, here goes. It's rolling already. I'm gonna screw this one up. First I'm gonna show you, then finally get out of there. It's surprisingly well built and well laid out. It's gorgeous to look at. I already said that one. Why don't you have a teleprompter for me, Filippo?